Shalom, this is Mary Omni from the World Government House of King David, Holy Covenant Constitutional Enforcer. Immigrants, white, middle class, time to wake up from your anus dreaming. Immigrants, white, middle class, time to wake up from your anus dreaming. The year is 2013. Things in the American system are falling apart. The con system is falling. The con system is the public. The public has been conned because they wanted a strong delusion. So they was given the strong delusions, like Thessalonians 2 said they would be given the strong delusion that they can have an American dream. Now, they didn't question this strong delusion because they was told that they can American dream, which they knew the dream would be on top of 400 years of involuntary servitude, the murder and slaughter of millions of natives, both black and red, the slave trade industry, and blacks oppressed in the country. So they wanted this American dream. They wanted to act like they had so much grit and raw, but they ain't have enough grit and raw to stay in their vagina jurisdiction that their grandmothers is from. They had so much raw and grit to build all these big elaborate businesses and all this other stuff. And they had so much raw and grit to get their middle class house, their suburbia, their home, and vote like a herd of animals, and who can herd the majority, and therefore we can keep the majority white senates. Yeah, and you kept the majority white senates to show your animal herding, to be proof of your animal herding in the last 100 years, since Woodrow Wilson said he wanted to birth a white supremacy nation, and he put the burning cross in the middle of the holies of holies and set out to do an abomination of the constitutional and base it on white supremacy and white skin supremacy, and your all white senates and your all white governors that you took as just a natural right. You didn't care that it infringed on blacks and kept them in poverty, long as you got your anus rewards. Now, when I say anus rewards, I mean this: immigrants, whites, middle class, anus dreaming on top of satanic blood, lust, and thievery gave you what you call an anus contract. That's an American non-consented united squatting contract. You call yourself a citizen, but you are just a united squatter of incorporate doctrines that's passed through the U.S. corporate mule. And the U.S. corporate mule don't have one amendment. You have no constitutionality because the Constitution been signed and sealed since 1870. The Constitution is the holy covenant of the blood of the saints of King Jesus, the body of King Jesus. And therefore, it doesn't take any, King Jesus don't owe any debt. And therefore, you are public debt contractors. King Jesus' contract of the holy covenant is the 1 through 15th constitutional republic. Like I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all who's under the republic. It doesn't say I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of the public, and that's what you are. The majority of so-called Americans in their dream is the public who came to dream. There's nothing in our founding documents that say I pledge allegiance to the public, because the public pledges allegiance in truth to Satan. They pledge allegiance to Satan for their American dream. That's why they felt no kind of conscience in trampling the blacks and watching 3 million of them be in prison, poorly educated, thrown out of schools. As a matter of fact, most of the public went into their little bastions of so-called white, little cotton ball bastions like Sandy Hook, where they wanted their little all-white students, all white this, all white that. This is the public. And they didn't care that blacks was being shot on the way to school, the little black children who's in the constitutional republic with King Jesus. They didn't care that they was being shot on the way to school. They didn't care whether or not they had buses or tokens. Because a satanic regime with Woodrow Wilson in 1913, with his birth of a new nation of white supremacy, to trample the constitutional republic, along with the banksters, the gangsters, the so-called creation of the Federal Reserve, the military-industrial complex, and immigrant white Catholic imports by banksters been voting for this 100 years come 2013. Now, they got all this anger now. All of a sudden, these immigrant whites, Catholic imports, Irish, Italian, Polish, Hispanic, Iranian, all these imported immigrants that came here under Satan's energy because they're non-consented constitutionally. So they can't be nothing but under Satan's energy because they trampling in their inalienable rights of black Americans for the gangsters and the banksters to make sure black Americans are deprived so they can get their trinkets and feel privileged. So they watched all this for 100 years. Now, President Obama been in there 5 or 6 years, and they want to blame him for every evil, and they raising all this hell. They raising all this hell as if they had 300 to 400 years of human capital investment to show you their arrogance of their satanic dung abominations. They think they can be raising hell with this black woman who's a constitutional citizen husband is the president. And I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm saying he has his purpose. I don't know who he's for in his heart. I can't read his heart, his body, mind, or soul. But I can tell you this, you public is worse than he's ever been. You've been voting for this evil for a generation after generation, especially the baby boomers. You've been voting for this evil 40 and 50 years. Some of you been voting for this evil older than he is because some of you baby boomers now is approaching like 65. And some of you have been voting for this evil since you was teenagers. So him in this last 5 years, part of your anger is just the fact to me that he's mixed because you've been voting for evil since Woodrow Wilson. So now when the evil comes in a caramel complexion, or you feel the evil is in a caramel complexion, then you doing all this anal twisting and your abomination of dung contracts that have no constitutionality anyway. And see, this is what you better realize. You better wake up from your anal dream, your anus dream, your American non-consented United squatting dream, because that's all most of you are, squatters who the Catholics brought here to pillage and theft from the Constitution. They brought you here, but they didn't sponsor you in Social Security, medical care, education, or housing. They just put you in the shore and said, help Satan trample the Constitution. And now with this last Pope, Pope Francis, as gentle and as sweet and he as he might look and he might be, and any miracle that he performed that supposed to be imitating, King Jesus, I'll put it this way. If you don't understand what's going on, the prophecy of the popes is this. The last pope would be named Petro Romanos. That is not his specified name, but that is the prophetic name of the last pope. His name is Pope Francis. Okay? Now, this Pope Francis is going to be pretending to be and to perform the miracles of King Jesus. Yeah, but this miracle that he performed could never be to give you your Social Security, give you all this housing that you stole from the black infant and our constitutional wealth. I'm saying if your Catholic Church had so much for you, why did you come and lean on a poor black infant back in the Constitution and want to claim his 14th? Why didn't you claim the citizenship with the Vatican? Why didn't they have something similar to a 14th over for you like that? But that they want to pretend the miracles of King Jesus, but they don't want to provide you. They don't want to provide. They want you to trample. They want you to trample. King Jesus would never tell you to trample his people, to trample the least of these. That black infant has to be the least of these in America. If you know black people is suffering, then you know the voiceless black infant is suffering with 200 million or more are you on their back for your so-called American dream, you're pyramiding on their back. And then when you run into somebody like Bernie Madoff or Madoff, and he made off with your stolen wealth that you stole, and he stole some more for you, he was just a smarter thief than you. So my point is, it's time for you to wake up. It's time for you to wake up, immigrant, white, middle class, all you imports who came to America for a dream. The dream is only float in Satan energy, and it only works as long as Satan pacifier, meaning his phallus is in your mouth. And that's why the last Pope prophecy, the Petrus Romanus, is this. Look at his name and don't blame me for the prophecy of the last Pope. Pet US, okay? Pet US, that's United Squatters, because they sure ain't petting black Americans. You know, they telling you to trample us for our 14th birthrights. So pet United Squatters. Pet or United Squatters. Pet Trust. Pet or United Squatters. Rome anus. Pet or United Squatters that's Roman in the anus. That's the American non-consented United Squatters. In the anus of the mule and in the anus of whoever they want you to be in the anus of. Because you're not in the camp of King Jesus. Because if you was in the camp of King Jesus, you would accept what you accuse the bankers of. If the bankers are thieves, then you know you thieves right along with them. You know that house and stuff you got ain't yours. If you saying the bankers are corrupt, then whatever goods you got out of them is corrupt. If you got a mortgage to them, you got a corrupt mortgage. See, you can't accuse the bankers that you contract with of being corrupt and bailout and thieves, because these was the ones you slept with for your fancy mortgages, your fancy homes, your fancy cars, your fancy diamond rings, and even your fancy clothes with the credit cards. So you pointing the finger at them, and 10 is pointing at you that you're in the anus. You are an anus, debt, dung contractor that needs to wake up, because this is your last pope, and this is your last hope to keep trampling King Jesus while you edify a man walking in the flesh on earth as being equal to him. And you are told by the commandments, thou shalt put no gods before the living God. But you want to pretend because the Catholic Church brought you here. You got a right to walk on a black infant's spine, constitutionality, and claim his 14th Amendment, which you know you had nothing to do with, coming in 400 and 500 years later, or coming in 300 years later, coming in after 1900. You know you had nothing to do with that, because really the Constitution was cut off in 1870 with the 15th Amendment New Jerusalem law. That's a supreme built-in vote. So all you immigrant, white, Asian, Hispanic, so-called middle class in your fancy stolen homes from whoring with bankers, and while you trampled the Constitution and stuck your little nasty abominating fingers in wealth and mingled with beasts just to have your fake wholesomeness and your fake little bastions of white privilege and your fake little fancy this is on somebody else's birthrights, and to put on your little blue cop uniforms and pretend gun rights you don't have. Well, you know what? You laid down the foundation of abomination, and it's going to come back. It's going to come back right in circulation, right back on you. It's time for you to wake up and clean up your damn mess. You brought your filth, your abominations, your tyranny, and you sat in cubicles squatting on land that's not yours. And what you did was trample the land contractors, which is black Americans. They the only one contracted with this land, okay? And that's non-consented. And they in all native contracts with this land, because the native chiefs put us in it to make sure their land is non-consented, because 3/5 couldn't consent to nothing, but yet they are in that supreme contract. Like it or not, wake up from your dream to the American reality. This land is not yours, and it will never be. It is the Most High who left it and contracted to his namesake because he's married to his namesake. So you so-called landlords that got black people and other people living in your so-called property, your property is not in the air. You got nothing but popsicle sticks on somebody else's land and done contracts with banksters that you weren't accused because they outsmarted you and they used you because they knew you was a tyrannous whore. Wake up from your anus dream, because that's all you got, a dung dream. You thought you could just walk in on somebody else's birthright. How arrogant can you be? This is Mary Omni from the House of King David. Shalom.
This is Mary Omni from the House of King David. Shalom.